Hello, welcome to this tutorial series. I am Balasubramanian. Today we are going to look into an interesting problem on how do we come up with a design for a system which enables users to submit their reviews. We might have seen this system in many e-commerce platforms, marketplace providers, service providers, uh, service aggregators, uh, like Amazon, Flipkart, Airbnb, or whatever it is, right? So they need to capture. There is a need for these marketplace providers to capture users' reviews on the products or the services, so that which enables them to enhance our ability to provide service or serve customers in a better way. So it is one of the critical systems for these players. And let us learn how to we design or how do we think through or come up with a design for such kind of system. So before we jumping into it, the image that we see below is not owned by me. It's taken from the internet. Credit goes to the person who has posted this image. So let's understand the detailed requirements or what are those things which we need to consider and what are those things we need to keep in assumption while we come up with a design. The primary requirement is to enable user to add review for the product or the service. When I say a product, it is substitutable. Service and product are substitutable, or service for the items or they have purchased or they need not. Okay, so that's something. So they should be able to add textual reviews. There is no limitation on the text. You should be able to submit a very detailed review or a concise or a crisp review about it. We should be able to capture that. Please go and clarify that. Is there any limitation or put an assumption that every able to user should be able to submit a very lengthy textual review, limited by some 1 MB, 2 MB, whatever it is that we can say. User should be able to provide a rating for the product. The ratings also we should be clarifying that requirement that do we need a rating system of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5. In this problem statement, which I have assumed that the rating system is 1 to 5, I've used an integer based rating system, not a float based rating system. So we can clarify with the person when you are designing it, or maybe when we are designing this, we should be able to clarify with the product or that. Do we need to allow users to rate 3.2, 4.5, 4.8 like that, or is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or is the scale is 1 to 10? So please clarify that. I have assumed that it is a 5 star or 5 rating between 1 and 5, where 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest, and all are integer based reviews. It's user should not, might not be able to rate, but if we are able to store integers, we should be able to store float as well. Mm. This is for the simplicity. I've just captured like that. You should be able to see the summary of the rating. What is summary here is the product is reviewed by more than one or maybe X number of people who have purchased or been given anonymous reviews as well. They should be able to see what is the average rating, something of that sort. So a clear summary of the ratings, which is clearly which helps the user to take a purchase decision. So summary is again a persisted value. We need not calculate it at the runtime. We can have it persisted as well. So we have to design a model for summary as well. The user should be able to review specific features of the product. What do we mean by feature here is if we take the image below, the accuracy, communication, cleanliness, location, check-in, maybe these are features looks like to me for a hotel-based system or whatever it is, but we think of we are purchasing a laptop and we want to see the review specifically about the keyboard or the display, the CPU, the RAM, or the operating system, or in terms of a cell phone, we can cellular phone, the version of the operating system, the camera, the battery life, how many times that can be charged. These are specific features. User should be able to review, add reviews to specific features, and then they should be able to rate them as well separately. For example, The overall rating of the product can be 4, but some of the features might be rated little low as well, could be rated little low as well. So users should be able to individually rate these features, is what I would say. The system should support. User should be able to add images or any other metadata. At this point, I have handled images, so we should be able to add anything on top of it, maybe any metadata, maybe a video, small video clip for an image, or anything of that sort, right? At this point, image and video could be or two of the things that we could think about, but we should be able to add any other metadata as it comes in the features as well. The users should also be able to, the system should be able to classify the reviews based on whether the user has purchased and reviewed this product or not purchased and reviewed this product. That should also be supported. So given that these things, let's focus on some of the other parts. How do we fetch these reviews kind of things, right? Users should be able to see the reviews that they have submitted. So go to, if we have logged in, user X is logged in, they should be able to see the reviews that the person X has submitted or Ram has submitted. So Ram is the user, assume. You should be able to see the reviews by product, but that's the default view as well. Click a product, we should be able to see the review. Get reviews by feature. You should be able to filter. So I want to see specifically reviews about the sound quality of the mic. Assume like when somebody is purchasing a mic, whether it has noise cancellation feature enabled or not. I'll just be able to look into some of these specific features and see if there are reviews around that. Users should be able to see top rated reviews. So it can be any other rating system, right? If we are able to come up with a design for top rated, we should be able to see the bottom rated, average rating, 1 star, 2 star. They should filter by anything. We should be able to see. The system should be able to have a pluggable fetch by any type of ratings, right? That's what is the overall requirement. Is what we would say. I would say the reviews should be users should be able to sort the reviews as well by date, right? Users mostly wanted to, if at all the phone model is there, for example, iPhone. So if they want to see an iPhone 9s, which is latest, they should be able to see the latest review as well. And they should be able to see the oldest review as well. For example, some of the products, they might have updated the product. So there might be some fixes, so some issues with the product, but they might have the company, the seller might have fixed those issues. So any reviews which are on older thing might not be useful. So that is the reason user wanted to see the reviews dated by which is the most recent as well. So the system should display like that, but user should be able to see the oldest and the newest reviews. Get certified reviews. What are certified reviews? As we should be able to understand, the system should be able to understand and classify the reviews as certified and not certified, because when the user has made a purchase through this platform, they could say that they are certified. If the user has not availed or made a purchase decision on this platform, so they might have purchased this product on different place. So they might be able to add reviews as well. It's like anonymous reviews. But when they review the product, it will be mostly to do with the product. But they would not be able to add reviews about the shipping experience, the buying experience, and all these things. That would not be making much sense. So they should be able to, the end user should be able to see reviews or filter reviews based on whether the reviews are certified reviews or something like that. User should be able to filter reviews which has some metadata only. This is just to add little more what is that called? When the users are certified buyers, they can add evidences, right? So this is what is the product I have. But if somebody says that this is the damage that it could incur, adding these evidences would also help boost uh, the confidence of the reviews. So users should be able to click and say that, oh, I want to see this. If at all some reviews are like for a camera and the camera quality is good, you should be able to show some pictures of it, right, which is quite good quality. They should be able to do it as well. So the users moderation, when the reviews are submitted, users submit certain reviews. Usually, the reviews are not made visible to the entire public immediately. Any of these review systems are a system which enables users to communicate freely via internet, which goes via some kind of moderation protocols or moderation systems. So what it does is it classifies, sorry, the moderation system goes and checks for the foul languages or checks for some of the restricted words which should not be used. So the system should enable that as well. But we are not going to code that moderation, but the system should be enable such kind of plug and play. Right, the user should also the system should also support classification of the reviews based on the sentimental analysis. For example, you this the system should be able to evolve itself that any of these things or these machine learning things should be able to we should be able to plug in such kind of things and then take it along. These are certain things which are required for a review system to be functional with the requirement being clear. Let's go into the code. So in continuation with the requirements, since the requirements are clear and the assumptions are made, let's look into how I have organized these coding the code into packages. I've used Java as the language. You should be able to use any other language as well, based on based on the familiarity of the language which the user is going to use. So the review system is organized into several packages. One is app, which has the driver code. I have not written unit test because it's little difficult for me to drive or explain with unit test alone. We should be able to add test as well because the methods are clear and concise as well. So we have a package called user because it's primarily about user who is reviewing it. So any user related classes are put in user. Summary, we just told about user should be able to see the summary of it. So summary related classes are put in here. Why do we need to store summary? There are two approaches, right? Probably we can do a average of going through all the ratings every time when somebody fetches for such kind of summaries or persist the summary. It's like materialized views, right? Have these things materialized and maybe eventually update it as well. So I have used that approach, but yeah, it's something which I would leave it to you. How do you want to think about it? But I have persisted summaries. User, so when review, yeah, user submits a review. So any classes which are related to reviews are present in this review package. Repository is more of a data sink, so we don't use a database or something of that sort. The purpose of this video is not to educate how do we design the table or whatever the database that we use. I've used the in-memory repository, which is more of an array list and a map for fetches and stream and filtering. So that's where all the repository data. Product. Users are reviewing about a product, so it makes sense to have some classes which are related to product. So I would not be persisting the product, all product metadata. That's not considered here because designing a system for a product itself is a bigger problem statement. So while we are looking into the product, we will go about it. Notifier is something I thought as an extended requirement. I have not covered that in the README. For example, whenever a system moderates the reviews, when the reviews are failed or something of that sort, you should be able to notify or should be able to get a notification on why the review is not accepted or something. Mostly, I have explained about an email-based notification, but with that in mind, we should be able to add any other notification as well because designing a notification system is a bigger problem that we could cover up in some of the upcoming videos. But yeah, I've just thought that this could also make sense, so I have added a notifier package as well. Utility is something which we have small utility functions to generate numbers or random numbers or whatever it is. So that's how I have organized this package. It's a concise code where we don't need any other dependencies apart from uh, Lombok, which whoever uses Java. They should be able to know Lombok provides a way to add annotations like get and set, which we need not write a getter and setter method, which gets injected to the class. But for the code file, it would not be that much verbose. That is the purpose of Lombok. If people don't know what is Lombok, it's just for that purpose I've told. Let's start with the user because everything is centered around the user and the product. So we can start with the user. Uh, so user, I have maintained a user class and captured two things for the user ID, which is a textual ID, it can be an email ID. User nickname, we need not show the email ID to the outside world, so the nickname which would be shown. And user has an user profile. User has a profile which captures all the other related details. Let's go into the user profile as well. The profile anyhow is identified by an user ID, which potentially could be an email ID, and user profile ID, which is a long integer. So user can have multiple profiles. First name, last name, middle name, which is very standard. We can have an user name as well, and a secondary email ID. We could potentially capture that. Password, a phone number of the user, user's location. We'll go to the location later, but yeah, user location is captured from where the product is purchased or the services, where the user is, from where the user or he or she is present. It would be helpful from where some kind of negative reviews are coming or from where positive reviews are coming. It will enable these e-commerce companies or the service providers to know that okay, this area the service is poor or something or good. They can enhance more or they can concentrate on that. We should need to capture that location just for that purpose. So user is created it and last logged in. User verification status. Why user? So whether the user is verified or not. So simply somebody logs in, we would not be permitting it. We will enable verification for the user. We'll just send a verification email ID and say that user can verify their email ID and phone number, and the user becomes a verified user. For that purpose, I thought about and come up with the verification status. So let's go into the user location, which is the first thing which we need to look at. The entire address related stuff can be captured at the user location. So I've just captured the address 123 city state pin. Maybe we could capture uh, user ID as well. Okay, yeah, which is the email ID. It is very standard set of fields that we are capturing. We should be able to capture, if at all, if we want to capture the geo coordinates of the user, we should be able to do that, and then use the geo coordinate to do reverse fill all these details as well. Nowadays, if you see the modern JavaScript based PWA pages are asking or enabling users to allow users to capture their location. That will capture the location and it will reverse feed the address as well. That can also be possible, but that's not considered. Think through it and then add. You should be able to add. So let's go into the verification state. The verification state is an enum, right? User is a verified user. This is not verified user and blacklisted. We should be able to blacklist a user as well. That way, we will not be able to see their, the other users will not be able to see their reviews or something of that sort. So this is how I have maintained all things related to user. So now the user, how to model the user seems to be clear. With that, let's go into review, uh, which is what users will be submitting. Let's start with the review. Uh, so every review has an ID. I've used a long for ID. Usually people tend to use a string for an ID, which could be a GUID. It's very easy to come up with such kind of IDs. But given the fact that GUID is about the length of the GUIDs are longer, I try to choose an integer as an ID. It would be easy. The storage would be less. It's about 64 bit, right? Long is 64 bit. It's about 8 bytes, so we should be able to store that. But if you take GUID, it's 32 bytes. My understanding is right. So we would be saving 1/4. We'll be using only 1/4, but we would be able to store that much reviews as well. Since these reviews are would be archived after some time as well, so the choice of long makes sense. So we should be able to justify the data types as well too, as we program. We have a product ID, so for which product the review is submitted. Rating is integer, as I told, it can be float, but as of now, I've used integer. We would not support float-based ratings at this point. Every review will have a title. What is the title? Excellent product or excellent thing. So this would be acting as a title of the review. The text, the detailed text about it. So take title as a subject line of an email, as in the subject line. The review text will have a complex text which the user types in. Who is the user who submits the review, which is the user ID? When it is reviewed, it can be datetime or it can be instant. Feel free to store as an instant, which stores in the entire date as an long number. Feel free, but I've used datetime as well. You There is a choice that we could store as an instant. Location, from where the user has reviewed. So it's important. It gives different perspectives to the not perspectives. It adds value to the service provider to capture the user's location from where the review has came. Uh, so the other details, these are a primary part of the review, right? The first part of the review. Second is the metadata. So this is the second part, right? Which is more to decorate a review. Probably if the requirement is very simple, I don't want to review a feature or something. The first set of few points which you feel that we have is more than enough for a system for a product to be reviewed. We could start from this and then we can add these other meta as well going forward as well. So list of meta, what is there in the meta? We'll look into it. It's more to do with images. List of features. So every product may have a list of features, right? A lot of features which are user can choose some of the features and then review specific. They choose to review some features which they are expert in as well. What is the review state? We'll look into it later about what is the review state and what is the review type. We also have talked about a requirement that a classification of these reviews based on the text. We should be able to feed it to a machine learning pipeline or something. To capture the sentiment of the overall sentiment of this, we have created an enum or something of that sort which classifies this. We'll take a look into it later as well. But this is how we have modeled the review altogether. Okay, let's go into what is there in Meta. Meta has the buffered image. We could be storing that as a byte and the image part. So I forgot to add long review ID so that cross references is kept. This metadata is for which review. We should be able to have a list of metadata for this. So that's something. Feature. A product contain multiple features, aspects or features. So we are reviewing about a feature. What is the product ID? What is the feature ID? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kept as integer, it can be very short. Yeah, product might not have more than 10 features, so we can keep it as a short as well. What is the feature name? What is the title? Feature name is camera, battery, or whatever, handle, or whatever it is. You can tell whatever feature about the product that we are looking. What is the text? Uh, Title is again a subject line, text is as same. Every feature can be rated as well, maybe 4 star, 5 star. And at this point, I have considered feature also can have images, but you clarify that whether it is required or not. So that's how it is a feature. If we go next, we have this review state. Whenever a review is added, right, usually it would be moderation pending. It's not moderated. It goes into the pipeline where the pipeline can check for some of the foul words or whatever it is. So we need to capture the state of the review and persist it and change the state, right? Whether the review is success, moderation is success, or the moderation is pending, or the moderation failed. The other users who are seeing the review about the product should be able to see only the reviews which which are moderated success, right? That's what is the requirement. That's why we kept this enum. Review type. We also had a requirement which clearly states that we should be able to classify the reviews based on the buyer is a certified buyer or an anonymous buyer. Probably the user can choose to purchase the product and have used this product, and they can come to this platform and review about the product. But they might not be able to review about the product in an authentic way, right? Uh, there are if they have purchased from this platform, they can tell about the experience of the platform as well. So otherwise, they should be able to explain only about the product. But the product which from which they have purchased might have some defect as well. So you should not create a negative impact on the users, right? So, who are seeing this product that this platform is only selling this kind of product. So we should be able to say that the person is a certified buyer or certified service availed person or availed person or something of that in terms of a hotel or something of that sort, right? Review sentiment, I've kept that as an enum. We can classify it when we say that whenever a review is added, we can pass on this review to a system which takes in the text and classifies the review based on whether it is positive, whether it's a critical review, whether it's a detailed review or a general review, very general generic review. We can classify this and enable the user to show filter based on give me all the critical reviews, give me only the detailed reviews, right? Or give me all of the negative reviews. Maybe the star itself will give that one star. Somebody can go and rate the star and leave only good, bad. Those are not very useful as well, right? You can simply say bad and put one star. We would certainly show that as well, but if a machine learning system can take in and say that a detailed review means it contains this many paragraphs and it also covers all the features. So the machine learning system should be able to understand this. So we should be able to write pluggable code that such kind of things can be plugged into our system, and they should be able to extend, or we should be able to extend anything like this about the sentiment, about any other thing as well, right? So we should be able to do that. I think we have looked into anything about the reviews. We have not looked into the methods. We will look into that later from the point of starting from user. What are those methods which are available, and then we'll take it. Next comes the summary, right? Uh, User should be able to. Summary is a very generic. It's a class generic class. A review summary and feature summary inherits summary or extends summary in terms of Java. So because most of the summary has similar fields. So what is the total? How many total ratings are there for this uh, uh, product, right? So how many total ratings are there? What is the average rating? What is total 1 star? What is total 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star? So something of that sort. And private, I missed it. Long product ID. So we can say that this review is for this summary is for this product ID. Similarly, is for feature. A review summary extends summary, and the feature summary extends this. So we should be able to add any specific things which are required to a review summary in case of whatever it is, but it's more of a very generic. So how do we do it? We increment star, right? So how do we increment star? We'll just go to this very simple method. If a star is greater than less than 0 or greater than 5, we say that the average rating is not good, it's not valid. Otherwise, we increment it, the total ratings plus plus, which means the number of users who have rated this product is incremented. And then say if it is a 1, it is 1 incremented, 2 is incremented, 3 is 4, more of a switch case. Also, we can update the average as well below, saying that average means the total ratings, uh, the sum of all the 1 star by total rating, sum of 2 star by so that's how we can keep it. But that's not a very simple way of calculation. Usually, the average rating of the product is mostly to do with the relevancy the recency and all these things. It's a complex algorithm, so I choose not to write it. But we can plug in any of these things later as well. So I have left some part of the code not implemented, but I'll also tell how do we do it. It's more of an extensible. So the system is extendable. We should be able to add any other methods on this summary and plug any logic what we have. But the system should be able to extend it, but we leave it certain things open as well. So the intention is not to implement everything and show, but the intention is to make people understand that this is how it's implemented, right? Even in terms of questions which is asked, we can leave certain things open as well. So let's go into product, which is an important aspect. Right? So as I said, a product for a retail system or a service is a very complex thing. It might have several tens of attributes, maybe 50, 60 attributes, hundreds of attributes it will have. But the intention is not to capture all the product metadata here. What is required for the review system is the review system should be able to be aware of the product ID. That's an aspect, right? For example, in terms of domain modeling principles, we say this is an aggregate. It's a view of the product, which might have only the product name, SKU, and the product ID. These are more than enough for this view is more than enough for a review system. No other, for example, what is the inventory, item on hand, all these things are not required. In stock, out of stock. Those are other things which are not required at all. So those aggregates are not required. But this aggregate view itself is more than enough for the review system. Okay. Notifier. Simple. I've come up with a user email notifier. We can have user SMS notifier or whatever. We can have a simple notifier and say notify user. It can take about an email notification or a generic notification. Right now I have implemented more of an email notification. Think like this, right? A user notifier, which has a method called notify user, which can take email notification or SMS notification or a push notification, which extends from a class or interface called notification, and then do it. This is how you should think and do it, but I have implemented it in a little concrete way. It's not wrong, but it is not right. I would not say, I would leave it open-ended, but this is how I would implement. But for this use case, I've just created a user email notifier, make it as a generic notifier as well. Feel free, right? So you should be able to take that and change it. So as an implementation class, I'm not going to send an email and show. Say I say that make an attempt to send an email or whatever it is asynchronously, and then set the notification status as success. What is the notification status? State which is success and failed. If it is failed, you will retry for X number of times. If it is success, then go ahead. That's what is mentioned in the notification state. What is the email notification? What is that we need to send, right? That is coming under this class. So notification ID and the user ID, which is an email ID. What is the message? What is the subject? When it is notified on, and what is the notification state? And you should be able to notify. And since the notification system, designing a notification system itself is a very big problem on its own. We just kept that this is what I am going to think about notification and enabled users to notify. We should be able to extend it and take it and solve it in a different way as well. So with we have looked into all these things. Repositories we have to store the objects in memory. So I have user, product, and review repository. They are simple. They contain list of users and map of users. List of users, whenever I have to do a filter, I do a for each stream and then filter. When it is a map, if I have to do a lookup, I have it. The same case for review, product, and other things as well. Okay, so let's go into some of the methods, but we need to understand, let me help you here. One thing which we need to notice, a product has reviews. This is how I have organized. So has a relationship. We should be able to clearly clarify that. So how do I model a review? A review doesn't exist on its own, but it is related to a product. So a product has list of reviews. But in real world, when you do a system design, that's not what we would be doing it like. It's like for a review, it's not a foreign. It's more of a think of foreign key relationship. For a product, this has so many reviews. If the product doesn't exist, all the reviews will go away. That's how we would be able to. So this is how we need it. The product has reviews, and a review has meta and features, and a review has ratings, right? So a review has ratings. So this is how I have modeled. The summary extends, what is that called? Yeah, the product summary or the review summary and the feature summary extends a summary. Similarly, a product has reviews. This is how I have modeled the system. Let's look into user related methods. Uh, Users, we should be able to add user, we should be able to find a user, we should be able to save a user, we should be able to set verification state about the user and get the reviews which are done by the user. These are all the methods that this supports. When we go into a detailed implementation on how do we persist it and other things, we should be able to do it. But it is a more of a very simple way I've taken it. Save user, I'm putting it in memory repository, which is array list and a map. Once the user is saved, I would initiate a verification. This code will initiate a verification, uh, and the verification, it says that it initiates a verification process, and the verification process updates the verification status as well. It can be done asynchronously, and the user is verified. So when the user is added, verification is pending. But mostly, I would say that the initiate verification could be done in asynchronous way. Need not be done in synchronous way, but the intention of this code is not to prove or write in an asynchronous way. Say that okay, this is pluggable. Initiate verification or anything can be plugged on top of this, right? And it sets the verification status. So we should be able to set this. Get by review. So I, what it does is it fetches all the reviews done by a particular user. Goes to the repository or wherever the data sync is there and gets all the reviews which are done by the user ID. That's how it is. It can be the user could have done the reviews on multiple products, but so be it. That's how we need to do it. It's a bigger fetches. We should be able to store it in different way, but yeah, this is how we have to do. We index by the user ID in terms of the reviews, and then fetch those reviews done by a particular user ID. We should be able to fetch it much faster, and we should be able to justify that as well. Location, it's more of a model class profile. We can get the profile by an user ID, so that's a method which we will have. Verification status is just an summary classes are we have just explained or looked into the code as well and the methods as well. Let's go into a review, which is very critical here. So we should be able to add a review. You should be able to post, right? If you take in the REST principles, you should be able to post review about the product, which contains the entire review metadata. We go and check whether the product exists. If the product doesn't exist, we can throw an invalid review exception. I am not checked, but you should be able to add that as well. It's quite simple to add if the product is not found. Don't proceed. So that's how we should be able to do it. We should be able to break it. Otherwise, we should be able to add the reviews. I assumed that it exists, but yeah, we should be able to add that. It's a very simple thing that anybody should be able to add, I would say. I'm adding the reviews to the repository and passing on the review asynchronously or maybe synchronously in this code here to moderated, whether they set the review as moderated or not. Update the review type and then uh, we have to add the reviews to the product as well. That's what I'm doing. So what does moderate does? It sends the review for moderation. For example, this is another system, machine learning system, or a system which checks whether users review doesn't contain this words which are not permitted, right? So such kind of things, and I'm setting it to success at this point, but we should be able to set it to failed or moderation failed or something of that sort. Uh, but this is to demonstrate that this is what we would be doing. What is update review type? Update review type is more to do with uh, the whether the review is a certified review or a certified buyer or non-certified buyer or anonymous user who can review about the product. We go and check, right? What does this code has to do to go and check the order history of a user? So we might have to model orders as well, but that's not the intention, right? If we keep modeling everything, we should be building the entire e-commerce somehow or the other way. We go and check whether in the order history of the particular user, uh, whether user has made a purchase on this product ID, right? The SKU is usually a SKU, right? We have the product which has the SKU. The SKU is purchased. The SKU is purchased by the user. Then we say that the review is certified. Uh, the review is done by a certified user buyer, but otherwise it's an anonymous review as well. That is the intention here. So and then we are returning the review. That is what the add review does. So anything if we have to add, we should be able to add it here. Uh, yeah, it's more of a facade function, right? It keeps sending these things to other people, other interested systems as well. We have covered about moderate. We have set the review status, moderation status success. We can set the moderation status as failed. Once the moderation status is failed, this is where we talked about a notification. We should be able to notify the user when the moderation state failed. Uh, so we go and get the review and then set the review status moderation failed. We can have a very generic notifier. Right now, I have an email notifier. We should be able to refactor it uh, to whatever we think we could. And then we notify the user. Uh, we also said that we will be sending this to yeah, sentimental analysis of this, right? So what we could do is we could build something like this, right? A review analyzer of that sort. This is how I am thinking, but yeah, right now it is in this. But review analyzer. So review analyzer equal to new review analyzer and analyzer dot analyze, right? We follow it, and that should facade should be able to take it to any other type of analyzer as well. Or review analyzer make this as a factory and review analyzer dot get type of sentiment analysis and then review analyzer dot analyze. We should be able to put a factory which gives a appropriate type of review analyzer and then plug in as well. So think little broader. We should be able to do it. I've just coded this as a method, but the opportunity here is to come up with a class like a review analyzers, which could have more than one sentiment analyzer, review uh, language analyzer, or something of that sort, and many other things as well. And iterate through it and then pass it on to everything. That's something we can think about it, or get that and pass it on as well for each for whatever we want to do. We could be able to do it. Think through it and then pass it on multiple places. Simply should be able to code it in a synchronous way, but we should be able to code it in the way that I told as well. As I walk through the video, I just thought about it. We've talked about reviews. Let's go into product. So a product, we should be able to add a product. Here is where all the get comes. Right? We are able to fetch the reviews of all the reviews of the product. Get all reviews. There should be a method which says that get all the reviews for this product. Get reviews by feature. We just pass on the product ID and the feature, which is camera, right? I say, which is a battery life, which is the noise filtering status of a mic or whatever it is. I pass in the feature, I should be able to get all the reviews. But there are conditions as well. Usually we should be able to filter those reviews which are moderation is success, otherwise it is not. That's implied requirement. We should be able to handle that. And we should be able to handle boundary conditions as well. If the product ID is not present, we should throw an exception that 404 not found or whatever it is. That I think anybody should be able to justify that. add these boundary conditions to wherever it is required in this code. But this code gives you an ability to think through it, right? We should be able to make it much cleaner. There are a lot of opportunities available, but this enables you to think, right? This is how I could do, and cultivate that. Okay, this is how you could think, and from that point, you should be able to. Anybody should be able to code or hone this code as well. The other requirement was to get the reviews by date. Should be able to get the reviews by date descending in the recent one reviews whose moderation. Get reviews by the product, which is what I told. Get all the reviews by product. Maybe we could sort it by date, ascending or descending in whatever the default sorted. But this is where we should show, and we should be able to show only the top 10 first. So as and when people click more, we should be able to add filter, what is that called, pagination and other things. We should say that we should handle pagination at later point of time. But that should be handled as part of this get reviews by the product. That is what we are seeing from 59, 57 to 61. Get reviews by date, we should be able to sort it by ascending or descending. We should be able to pass on. Get verified certified reviews. Who are those people who have purchased this product? Those are called certified reviews. Say that these are certified reviews, these are not certified, uh, because we are going and checking the order table, right, and updating the state of the review as and when it is getting added. It happens at the time of adding the review, and we are going to filter it. So if it is indexed, and this is the sparse index column, if you say it's an enumeration, right? 3, 4. The sparse index column, it takes time, but yes, we should be able to index it based on the certified reviews, and then filter all those reviews which are certified as well. Uh, that's something which we could do it. But the index would be mostly a skewed index. This is something which, if it comes to system design, we should be able to tell this point as well. Indexing on any of these columns which are much more frequent, right, will create skewed index partitions. The indexing would become slow after some time. Is something which we need to point it out to at the time of discussion. Get reviews with metadata, meta. So means get me all the reviews which are having this meta, which is pictures or anything of that sort. That's how we are going to fetch all the reviews which contains the meta. Get reviews by rating. As I said, right, we should be able to filter the top rated, bottom rated, and all these things. We should be able to. So I just taken that review by product ID as an input and the star or the rating, right? If it is 1, it'll take 1, which is 2, which is 2. So we should be, this code is extendable. It's not that get reviews by 1 star is what not what you have coded, right? So maybe this is how we should be able to tell that this code is extendable. Uh, get reviews by feature. As I said, we should be able to get all the reviews by feature. Get all the reviews which are having like camera and other things, right? So that's something. So this is a private method which I've used in for the parallel stream. Nothing much. Whenever the review is present, metadata is present. Metadata means about the image is present, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. No, immediately it doesn't do that like that, but it goes through the all the features and checks if any of the feature has a meta attached to it, then it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Looks like we have come to we have looked into all the classes which are related to review, user, summary, and the code is committed. It is available in my GitHub repository under the project named reviews. You should be able to take it and use it. I have written some driver code as well. It's not very exhaustive because it takes the lot of time to come up with it. But I've just written 1 or 2 use cases, and this that's working. And rest all things also should work. Is my is what I will do. I'll keep adding more driver code as and when time permits. But I'll just walk through what are the driver code. So I have initialized the user with an email ID and a user nickname. I've added a user profile to the user, and then added location, and I've set the password as encrypted. Uh, you should be able to tell that even if it is in memory, I should be will be encrypting the password and storing it. Some kind of algorithm. So you should be able to demonstrate, or we should be able to demonstrate that we are thinking in that line, right? And we are setting the profile for the user and then save the user. When the user is saved, and then we are already initiating the verification process. User will get an email or something of that sort, and then they update. The system should be able to update the user is verified. When the user is verified, user should be able to add a review. A review contains list of features. Maybe at this point, assume that this review is for a camera, and then some kind of text I've put, feature name I've put, and set the rating, and then I'm adding in the feature list this feature to this feature list. And I've added another feature about speaker. Maybe we can add any other thing as well. I'm getting the product ID and then adding a product. I'm adding a review, and then this review gets added to the product as well, right? And I'm setting the status as success, and the certificate review type is certified by app, and then I'm adding the review. Okay. And the second step which it does is it adds I've written code to add another one more user, one more feature, and another review for the same product. Okay. And then I've written code to get reviews by feature, which is camera. We should get certified reviews because we have certified that review. We should be able to get that moderation state and get reviews with meta. And these are very basic things which I have written. We should be able to add any other thing as well. I'll keep adding it for the purpose of the video. I limit it to some of the driver code. But this code is tested, it is working. So when we should be able to add any other thing, whatever is mentioned there, and we should be able to add driver code and test it, either demonstrate via unit test or whatever it is, we should be able to add. With this, we have come to an end of how do we model a review system and what are those things that we consider. In the next video, we should be able to cover up how do we come up with the system design for it. This is again a complex system, right? How do we store it? What is the choice of the database and other things? We'll look into it at a different video. Thanks for your time, and until then, bye.